Greetings. It is I. Didi is me. Ha ha ha. How everybody doing? Long time no see. Well, I've been in the midst of making hats. Yeah. So I decided, since that's what I've been doing, to show you how I make my hats. And it's a denim newsboy style hat. And so far, since I've worn mine and a few more other people's worn them, I've got a great response on them and got some orders. So let's go and show you how to make it. You ready? Ain't nothing to it but to do it. All right, so here we go. This is the pattern that I use. See if you guys can get a good look at that. This is the pattern that I use. It's basically, I found this on Pinterest. So I'll see if I can copy it or download it and try to add it in the directions. But it gives the directions as to how many inches and everything this needs to be, which size the top, the bottom, and then the brim, on how the brim needs to be. Now, since I've been making so many of them, I've been doing the cheap way. On my denim, I use copy paper. And what I do is dark side on the fabric, pattern on top of it, and using an old school item, I just basically trace out my pattern onto my fabric. And then voila, we got this. So now if it's not dark enough for me to see it, I use one of my little markers to draw it out to make it dark so I can see it. Because the pattern gives you your seam allowance. And so this inner marking here is my seam allowance. With the pattern, it tells you that you need 6 pieces to make the crown of the hat. So when you have your denim, it's doubled, so you got 2 in each. I got 3 of these, 6 pieces in total. Then here's my brim. I cut out the double brim so that it'll be thick, and when you can flip the hat up, it'll be on both sides. Now this particular hat that I'm making is two-toned. The base of it is a darker denim, but the brim is going to be a lighter denim. So it's going to look like that. That's the customer's request. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so now that I have all my pieces cut out, oh, forgot the main part. And I used the waistband for my trim to go around the hat. So that's the waistband off the denim. And I go around the hat with that. That's the most difficult part out the whole thing. We'll get to that time later. Okay, once you have all your pieces cut out, time to get some sewing done. So let's move on over to trusty old reliable here. Okay, so now once you got everything cut out, we move into the sewing machine. Make sure your 2 pieces are facing right side to right side. They line up, and I normally start from the tip. Line it up with the needle. And let it rip. And there you go. So now you do all of this till you get all 6 pieces connected. Ta-da! It's all together. Okay, so now turn it inside out. And you got a perfectly shaped brim. So now, before you go and iron this out, you're going to turn it back inside out. And you're going to iron down all your seams. But before you do that, so you won't be making several trips, I suggest you go on and sew your brim together too. So I'm going to do that real quick now. Alright, there's the brim. So now you iron it down and then you top stitch it. That helps making it stay more flat. So now I'm going to iron these down. Alright, we got everything ironed down. Got our seam allowances ironed down, and we got the brim ironed down. Okay. What I normally do is, depending on the customer, to make sure that the hat fits good, crazy as it sounds, I do not measure their head. Crazy, ain't it? Yeah, no. But based on me having a big head, and I go on that route. Okay, so normally when I wear my hat, I don't have my hair in a bun, and my hair is cut short. So for it to fit snug on me, I figure out how I want to place I put pleats in it. So, placing how I want to place the hat, which part is the front, which part is the back, I will put pleats on the sides. So, I'm going to go on each side and making sure it's equal on both sides and take it in some. At least about an inch. And then make it come up maybe midpoint. Make sure you can see that. So I do it and take it up to midpoint. That way, that'll help it be more snug on my customer's head. So let's get there. Okay, so remember, this option right here depends. If you have hair, put it on. See how it fits your head. And you might not even need the pleats. Because of your hair, it'll fit you snug. But once again, for us that wear our hair short, we want it to fit a little bit more snug. So, you do the pleats on each side. So now, got my pleats put in to take it in to make it fit a little bit more snug. But the next step to help it fit snug is I add a piece of elastic. So now, of course, the elastic is going to help stretch it and make it fit even more snug on your head. So you put it on the back part of it. I normally will do a much smaller piece than how wide that particular panel is. That way it can snap back, especially if it's for a customer who has short hair. So, and normally, to be honest, I do it the length of my finger. That way it got some stretch to come back. So, cut that off. And that's about 2 inches. Yeah, about 2 inches of elastic. That depends on you, how much of snug you want on your hat. By me knowing that this customer, she has short hair, I wanted to give her a much snugger fit. So now, on one of your seam allowances, You take the one side of the elastic and you attach it in. Make sure it's in there good enough. I normally make about 2-3 runs across it. To make sure that it's in there good and stable and won't come loose. Come loose. Make sure your thread stay in your needle. Jesus Christ. There. Make sure you got enough thread in the back so the thread don't come out the doggone needle. And like I said, go across the elastic 3-4 times to make sure it's in there good. Alright, so now that you got the elastic in, and as you can see with the bolt on in the back, that's going to give it some stretch and give it more snug on the head. So now since the elastic is in the back, time to measure the brim on the front. Now like I said, this is a two-tone hat, customer's request. And what you do is, since the brim is basically the same color on both sides, right sides out, it doesn't really matter. Oh, cut that off. I almost made a mistake. I didn't double stitch it down. Hold on, backtrack. First, before you do all that, top stitch the top of the brim. That'll keep it down and make it look a little bit more neater. Yep, fix that before we make a mistake. All right. Now that top stitch is down, see that? And even by me using this dark thread, you can't tell the top stitch on there no way, but it makes it look much neater, don't it? Woohoo! All right. So now back to connecting the brim. Since the brim really doesn't matter as to what side you do it, you find the center of the front. I've been doing this so much now that it's becoming second nature to me. So for you, I would suggest fold the brim in half. And place your needle in the center. That'll point out your center for the brim. So then for the center of the front of the brim, I would suggest the same. So my suggestion, what I would do is the two inseams, match them together. And that would be that point would be the center of your brim, of the dome of the hat. Okay, so now you match the two and pin that together. And then you pin to make it comfortable for you. You can pin it all the way around till they meet on each side. And pin this side around too. Make sure you keep it flat and pin it around. And then you sew it down. I've been making too many hats. It's about done came second nature to me, so I too much don't need to pin it much down. I got accustomed on to on how to do this. So, and make sure that both sides of the brim hits up with the dome of the hat. Alright, so now that you've connected it, this way, you have to flip it back over. And then stitch it down. That'll help it look much neater and keep it formed for when the customer can either flip it up or flip it down. They flip it up, this part won't flip up or show either. I would suggest that you sew it more on the dome part of it to keep that part flat down. All right. And there you go. And here comes the fun part. Adding the trim. All right. Now we're at the fun part. Now it's time to add the finishing touch. And that is the waistband onto that. So how I normally do this is, cooperate with me, please cooperate. There we go. All right. So now, with the front of the brim, cut all these excess off here. Too many strings, too many strings. All right. So what I normally do is place the front of the buckle on, depending on what side I want it on. So now her last hat, it's on that side. So it's on the right side. So this one needs to be on the left. Okay. So now, deciding on where I want it to go, we start pinning it down on to the hat. Because you need to make sure that everything is measured out evenly before you stitch it down. In the front, I normally make sure that the lines come across here, come across where the brim and the dome meets. And as you can see, this is open, because what's going to happen is this, I'm going to do it where the dome fits on the inside of the waistband, and it looks like that. But first, you need to make sure everything is laying flat and you have enough waistband covering the entire hat. And do both sides before you go to the elastic. Okay, once you get around the back, my suggestion is, if you have any belt hoops in the back, to take them off. Any belt hoops on the back of the waistband, take them off. Reason being, when you get to the back and it's time to cover that, the waistbands are going to be in the way. And you're going to use these little hoops to cover up your stitches in the back. So I don't take them off before because I don't know how far around I'm going to get. And I don't want to cut them off because it might leave some type of damage on the rest of the waistband, and we need it to look as good as possible. So try to be as delicate as possible when taking those off. And yes, it's hard because you know they are double stitched on there. Got it off. So now what you're going to do is, with that elastic on there, you need to stretch the elastic out to make sure you are covering the entire hat. Alright, so now we're at the middle. So what I will normally do is cut one side off. So I'm going to take it right here, and I'm basically going to cut that. Make sure you're not cutting the hat, the dome, and your elastic. See, and that is about in the middle of the hat. And then I will take the other side and do it to where it is overlapping. So the one side is going to cover the other side. And then you cut that off. You measure that to how far you want it to go, and you cut it off. Make sure you cut off enough. And cut that off. So even when I stretch this out, I still have enough to come over and cover that up. Okay? And then what's going to happen is then you have your pieces to come back in, and you can use them to cover up what you just took apart. Alright, so now we done did that. So now we come back around to the front. And what we're doing right here is we need to be able to come on inside and get to a point right here where you're going to cut the inside of the waistband. Don't cut both sides. You're only cutting the inside. And the reason being is because you need this to start coming in and covering the inside of the hat. You're just making a slit. That way it comes down and it lays down good. Make sure you do it where you lay it down good and even so you don't have no extra bulks. And you pin it down. Then you do the other side. So now you stitch down around the top. Don't stitch down your loops yet, but around the top of the waistband, you start stitching that down to the back, and then you come on the other side. You start at the end of the brim. So at the end of the brim, I'm starting to sew right here, and I'm going to sew all the way across the top, coming to the back. So now I'm going to do the side that I cut the shortest first. I need that stitched down so I'll be able to sew this and lay it over top. Alright. So now because I don't like to connect this part to the hat because it gives you the option to fold the head up. Fold the head up, wear it like that, or wear it with the brim down. And there you go. So now, in the front of the hat, this part of the waistband is not connected back. So now you can unbutton it and stitch down these two. So, but what happens is you have the two waistbands on the front of the hat. So, since they are not going to be connected to the hat, you cut them down even to the waistband. And then now you're going to stitch this just closed, and you can connect that to it so this will stay down. Now you just close up the front pieces of the waistband. You make sure that all of the belt loops are attached. And if you're going to add the extra ones, you do that now. Snip off all your extra strings, clean it up, easy peasy, all done. And you got a finished product. And here it is, all styled up for you by me and my girls. Alrighty, we have a finished product. Ta-da! Yeah. Okay. Now, me personally, I don't feel comfortable with this video, but I'm gonna put it out here anyway. Y'all want to see the flaws? Here they are, the flaws. Let me know what problems you have down below in the descriptions, because there is an opportunity for me to redo these hats. I have a list of people who have requested them, so there's an opportunity for me to redo this video, and God's will, it will be with better equipment. Okay, but in the meantime, in between making hats, it's that time again for a project. And those of you all who know, I am in Blueprint DIY, Angelina, her Renegade Upcycle VIP class. And we are now springtime. So it's time for us to do our new spring project. And she's already given assignments. So this goes with some of the get-ups you see behind me, because I have been watching the videos and trying to get my inspiration. So it's time for me to get this done, and that's due in about a week. Boy, me and these weeks, I tell you. So I'm not sure as to which one of these I'm going to do. All of them are runway inspired, but of course, got my little flash on it. So that will be videotaped also, that you see what the outcome is for that. Alrighty, I want to thank you all for watching me. This is the first one. God's will, they're going to get better. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace on both sides. Toodles.